Okay, a little feature video here on gearboxes. Two-wheel drive manual boxes is what we're focusing on here. Going to take a closer look at the Borg T5 gearbox and the Mazda 5-speed. However, we've got two gearboxes here that we're going to actually just incorporate as well, which is the LT77. And as Handsome Steve is off today, myself and Workshop Steve have been a little bit inventive. You're not ready for this. An R380 gearbox. If you're wondering which gearbox you've got out of the two-wheel drive versions that are the older style, it's very easy to determine it when you're driving the car. With the LT77, reverse is next to first gear, and with the R380, reverse is under fifth gear. Both of these gearboxes use the conventional pattern with reverse under fifth gear as well. So let's take a closer look at the two main gearboxes. Starting with the Mazda gearbox here then, it's 5-speed. We will do a comparison of dimensions in a second. It's running the concentric slave cylinder. Comes complete with the hydraulic lines, obviously feed and bleed. And moving along here, we've got the reverse sensor, and then obviously the remote, and has a sliding output yoke. On this side, not a great deal to see. We've obviously got the speedo output there for a conventional cable, and other than that, nothing to worry about on this side to connect to or anything. So let's take a look at the T5. So again here with the Tremec T5, also known as a Borg T5, got the concentric slave cylinder with feed and bleed hoses. The reverse sensor on the side of the box down here. And on this side as well, we've also got the conventional speedo drive for cable. And again takes a sliding output yoke. And on this side of the T5, not a lot to see. If I pull the hydraulic lines across, we have got a fill and drain plug, and also it does have a nice mounting bracket on the side for the bleed screw for the concentric slave cylinder. Just a quick look at the boxes side by side before we get the tape measure out. See the Mazda gearbox here is quite slim, and the T5 here has got a lot more width to it. T5's rated, I've seen different figures written down from different suppliers. 300 to 330 foot-pound of torque. We've thrown pretty much everything we can at one of these, and it's survived. And the Mazda gearbox, slightly lower rated. There is a company that does turbo conversions to Mazda MX-5s and still gives a manufacturer's warranty with the gearbox, and they are running around 300 brake and 250 foot-pounds, so still a very well capable gearbox. And of course you do have to always consider traction when you're rating a gearbox, because obviously if you lose traction then you're not actually applying as much torque through the box because you're spinning the power away. Let's get the tape measure out and have a measure up from bell housing to the output at the rear of the box and the actual gear stick as well. Right, starting with the T5 gearbox this time then. From the face of the bell housing through to the gear stick, we're going to talk old money here. We've got 25 inches. The way it's actually bolted on, you can see here, would allow you to reverse that fixing obviously, which would then pull the gear stick back to 27 inches. Obviously it's a gear stick, you can manipulate it however you need to. And then to the rear of the actual box where the output yoke goes, we're actually at about approximately 30 inches. Looking across the T5 gearbox then, we're just holding the tape slightly over the edge here to account for the lug that the bleed nipple locates into. So at the widest point really on the gearbox, once you pass the bell housing, we've got approximately 9 to 9¼ inches once you take into consideration these lugs as well. Obviously these could be marginally trimmed down. There is a mounting location on this side for the bleed screw as well, so it allows you different options. It is a slightly wider box than the LT77 and the R380, so if you are performing a conversion, it may require some transmission tunnel modifications. If you're building a car, then obviously you can build the transmission tunnel around this gearbox. This time with the tape measure and the Mazda gearbox, we have the gear stick arriving at approximately 28.5 inches, and the rear of the gearbox I would say from my perspective here at approximately 31.5 to 31.75. So let's have a look at the across dimensions. As you can see here, and I've actually just noticed as well, the bell housing actually seems to taper down to the actual gearbox body much sooner, so we'll just take a look at that as well. However, the widest point on this box is running at just about 7 inches, maybe 7 1/8 at a push. So a much narrower gearbox. This is actually used as a direct replacement in a kit for the original MGB gearbox, so no transmission tunnel issues there, and I would consider actually to be a relatively straightforward fit in place of an LT77 or R380 without any need for transmission tunnel modifications that I can see of with the boxes side by side. Now let's take a look at the bell housing now. Back to the T5 then, looking at this bell housing. The bell housing back to where the gearbox starts is 6.5 inches, and if we now go across this edge here where it mounts the gearbox, we're running at about 8.5 to 9 inches. So it's not a slender gearbox, but obviously can handle extra power over and above the Mazda box. Moving over to the Mazda box, if we look here, bell housing again to where the box really starts, we're at approximately 5.5 inches. And then looking across the box, we're still looking at a really nice slender 7 inches. So it really tapers down quickly to that nice 7-inch straight line down the box here. Okay, well at this point in the video, we'd love to show you how really lovely and smooth this gearbox drives. If you look at a recent video we uploaded of the red MGB GT, that's what this Mazda gearbox was installed to, and we did actually do some specific filming of me changing gear, the tips of my fingers on the gear stick, how lovely and smooth everything is changing throughout the entire gearbox, H-gate. However, unfortunately, due to some computer issues, we've had some data files corrupted, and typically it was those ones that we needed to splice in here. So yeah, really looking forward though to supplying this Mazda gearbox for a solution for kit cars, two-wheel drive obviously, because it is absolutely superb and is such a nice pleasurable drive to have a modern gearbox onto the Rover V8 engine.